In order to understand the genetic relationship between the Koreans and the Manchurians, we first need to understand the major population lineages that gave rise to most of the ethnic groups in East Asia. There are currently 8 major lineages that form most of the ethnic groups in East and Southeast Asia. The ones that relate to our topic today are number 1, Amur ancestry, also known as the ancient Northeast Asians. This lineage descended from the ancient Northern East Asians and is associated largely with the Tungus and Mongolic speaking groups. Number 2, Yellow River ancestry. This lineage is also descended from the ancient Northern East Asians and is associated with the Neolithic millet farmers that settled along the Yellow River, linked to the spread of the Sino-Tibetan speaking groups. The spread of this group is characterized by the split between the Sinitic and the Tibetic speakers, and then the subsequent growth of the Sinitic branch through the nation we call China. Number 3, Fujian ancestry. This ancestry descended from the ancient Southern East Asian and is associated with the spread of the Austronesian speaking groups that would migrate into Taiwan and then Southeast Asia, Melanesia, and then finally Polynesia. Number 4, Jomon ancestry. This lineage is associated with the Jomon people that used to inhabit the Japanese archipelago. Modern population most closely related to this ancestry would be the Ainu of Japan. The genetic baseline for the people of the Korean Peninsula derives primarily from Neolithic farmers along the Liao River. The Liao River population itself was originally formed from the admixture of 2 distinct East Asian lineages. When the climate is colder, the population here are genetically derived mostly from the Amur ancestry. When it is warmer and more suitable for farming, millet farmers carrying the Yellow River ancestry would become the majority. However, Korean genetics harbor a couple of surprises up its sleeves. The first is that aside from the baseline of Amur plus Yellow River ancestry, Bronze Age Korean seems to have Jomon-related ancestry as well. However, this Jomon lineage is no longer detectable in the sampled modern Koreans. The second surprise in the Korean genetics is a Southeast Asian component associated with ancient samples from Banqiang and Wat Komno, specimens from Cambodia and Thailand, who were ancestors of the Austro-Asiatic speakers identified by this 2020 paper. But this 2023 paper, however, identified the Southeast Asian component to a Taiwan Hanpen sample, with 17% found in Manchus and 15% found in Koreans. What strikes as odd is that the Taiwan Hanpen ancestry is associated with Austronesian speakers, not with Austro-Asiatic ancestry identified by the 2020 paper. To be honest, I can't wrap my head around these findings. My interpretation of this Fujian Austronesian ancestry found in the 2023 paper is that there could be 2 possible contributing sources. The most obvious one being that the Austronesian element piggyback into the Korean gene pool through Han Chinese admixture, as Han Chinese carry varying degrees of Austronesian admixture in a gradient, with less in the north and more in the south. Now, there is a second possibility, and this is much more fascinating, is that there might be an Austronesian expansion forming a genetic substrate in the Korean peninsula. There are some linguistic evidence to suggest that Austronesian languages form a linguistic substrate in the development of the Japanese language. And if this theory is true, then the Austronesian migrated not only into Southeast Asia, but also into Northeast Asia, though in much smaller numbers. However, neither of these theories explain the Austro-Asiatic element associated with Cambodia and Thailand in the 2020 paper. I guess we just have to wait for more research to sort the data out conclusively. Now, the Manchus, on the other hand, like most Tungus-speaking groups, derive most of their genetics ancestry from the ancient Amur River lineage. However, due to geographical and historical proximity to the Han Chinese, the Manchus today are genetically heavily admixed with Han Chinese, making them an exception among the Tungusic speakers. This means that aside from their genetic baseline formed from a mixture of Amur River and Yellow River ancestry, they also display considerable affinity with ancestry from other ancient Southern East Asian lineages associated with Austronesian, Austroasiatic, Thai Kadai, and Hmong-Mien speakers, piggyback through Han Chinese admixture. Now, this chart functions as an aid to visualization. The pink color denotes Yellow River ancestry, with the highest percentage represented by the ancient Yellow River and Western Liao River samples circled here. Modern Han Chinese generally have about 50 to 60% of their genetic ancestry deriving from this Yellow River ancestry, seen here and here. Some non-Han Chinese Sino-Tibetan speaking groups actually carry higher Yellow River ancestry, like the Tibetans and the Qiang shown here. But this is expected because the Qiang and the Tibetans both descended from the same Yellow River lineage, but splitting off in the late Neolithic, early Bronze Age before the Han Chinese expansion. The orange color represents the Amur ancestry, with Neolithic Amur River sample and other Far East Tungusic speaking population like Ulchi, Boisman, and Nift carrying the highest percentage of this ancestry. As can be seen here, modern Manchus, unlike other Tungus speaking groups, no longer carry a majority percentage of this ancestry. Finally, the green color denotes an ancient Southern East Asian ancestry, with the highest frequency seen in Atayal and other Austronesian speakers like Ami. Of note here is that non-Austronesian speakers deriving from ancient Southern East Asian lineages as well are also represented in green color, like the Austroasiatic speaking Vietnamese and Cambodian. Thai Kradai speakers like the Thai and the Zhuang are also colored the same way as the Austronesian. As such, the green color here denotes not necessarily Austronesian, but the ancient Southern East Asian ancestry. As such, the genetic profile of modern Han Chinese are very similar with the Manchus, while Koreans reflect a similar makeup but with a slightly larger Amur ancestry component compared to Manchurians and Han Chinese.